The following diagram shows a rectangular lamina which consists of a square-shaped lamina with a side length of x centimeters. So this is x centimeters. X, since it's a square, all will be x. And a rectangular lamina whose width is x centimeters. So this is going to be x centimeters. All right. And the length is 8 centimeters more than its width. Whose length is 8 centimeter more than its width? The rectangulars. Which rectangle? It's red rectangle. Read it carefully. And a rectangular lamina whose width is x centimeters and the length is 8 centimeters more. Right. So the moment you see the word more, what should come? An addition. 8 more. So you put an 8. 8 more than what? 8 more than length is 8 centimeters more than its width. So what's the width? That is x. So what should be the length of this red rectangle? It's x plus 8. All right. Let's go further. The area of that compound lamina. Now, what is a compound shape? A shape which is consisting of more than a shape that has been made using more than one shape. Now, here, what's the compound lamina? Let me color it in orange. This entire thing. This entire orange thing, this is the compound lamina. It has been made by fixing a square to a rectangle. Right. So area of that compound lamina is 32 square centimeters. All right. So show that x satisfying the equation. All right. So what's the shape of the compound lamina? Let's color that in orange once again. This is the compound lamina, which is rectangular in shape. All right. So now, what's the width? What's the width of the compound shape, the orange color shape? It is x centimeters. And what's its length? How do we find out its length? What's the length? It is x addition. Addition what? Because length is consisting of two parts, the yellow part and the red part. So yellow part is x plus, to get the entire length, to the you got to add x with x plus 8. Then we get the entire length of the compound's lamina. So what is x plus 6? That's 2x plus 8. All right. Now let's go further. So we have been told what's the area is. That is, area of the orange color compound shape is 32 square centimeters. And we have been asked to show that x is satisfying the equation x squared plus 4x minus 16 equals 0. All right. So since they have given the area of this compound lamina, let's write the formula for area. So what's the formula for the area of a rectangle? Let's write the formula to find what's the formula we use. Area of rectangle is equal to what? Width. Width multiplied by, you can say width or breadth multiplied by the length. So width times length. All right, so let's plug in the values now. Area of the rectangle, the compound shape, have they given us? Yes, it says 32. So we write 32 is equal to, what's the width? Width, we don't know a numerical value, but we know in terms of a letter, what is it? X times. What's the length of the compound lamina? We found out while ago. What is it? That's 2x plus 8. So x times 2x plus 8. All right, so we have got an equation. 32 equals x times 2x plus 8. Now let's show the equation what we got to the examiner. He says he's not happy. Why? Because he wants this equation to be written in a certain format. What's the format he wants? He wants in this format. Can you see? In what format? X squared plus 4x minus 16 equals 0. All right. So in our one, there's a bracket. In his one, there's no bracket. So what's the first thing we do then? Let's remove the brackets. So x times 2x. What is x times 2x? That is 2x squared plus x times 8. That is 8x. Now, is the examiner happy? Not yet. All right. So in his one side of the equation has only 0. So let's do that. So how can we do that? 2x squared plus 8x. Let's ask this 32 to go to the right. So what 32 is it? There's no sign to be seen. Then it's plus 32. So when plus 32 goes other side, what does it become? It becomes minus 32. And the only thing that was in the left was 32. And even he went to the right. So what's remaining in the left now? Nothing. So do you write the word nothing? No, you don't have to write the word nothing. Instead, what do you put? How do you write nothing in math? You put 0. 0 means nothing. All right, now let's ask the examiner whether he's happy. He says still no. Why? He wants the equation to be presented as x squared plus 4x minus 16. See, in his equation, in front of x squared, there's no number. So what's x squared? What's x squared's coefficient? It's 1. When there's no number, we know it's 1. But in our equation, what's the x squared's coefficient? It's 2. All right. So how do we convert or how do we change it to 1? What can we do? Yes, so we can divide 2x squared by 2. Because when we divide 2 by 2, we'll get 1. All right, let's do that step. So what we can do is we can divide 2x squared by 2. Now, when you do this, the moment you do this, the equal sign would start complaining to you. What would it say? Hey, I'm going to move it. I'm going to move away. You ask why? Why are you trying to move away? Move away. He says, no, this is no more. I can't be there anymore because you have not done what you're supposed to do. So we ask, don't go out. Tell us what are we supposed to do? So he says, if I'm to be there continuously, if you do something or if you do divide a term by 2, you got to divide all other terms also by 2. Only if you do that, I can be in the middle. All right. So don't make equal sign upset. So do what he says to do. So what do? You divided 2x squared by 2. Then you have to divide the rest of the terms also by 2. So divide by 2, divide by 2, divided by 2. So then what do you get? What's 2x squared divided by 2? 2 divided by 2, it's 1. So it's 1x squared. Should we write 1x squared? Should we write the 1? No, we don't have to because we can simply write it as x squared. What does x squared mean? It means 1x squared. So if the number in front of a letter is 1, you don't have to write it. Plus, what's 8 divided by 2? That's 4 for x. And what's 32 divided by 2? 16. And what is 0 divided by 2? Whenever you divide 0 by something, you always get 0 as the answer. Now let's ask the examiner whether he's happy with the way we have presented the equation. Let's compare. So what has he got? He wants x squared plus 4x minus 16 be equal to 0. And have we got it? Yes, we do have got it. X squared plus 4x minus 16 is equal to 0. So he's happy. But normally, we write the letters in the left and the number in the right. So let's write the same thing as what? X squared plus 4x minus 16 equals 0. All right, so we have fulfilled the first requirement. So what's next? Show that x is satisfying the equation x squared plus 4x minus 16 equals 0. All right, we have shown it. And find the value that can be obtained to x in the nearest first decimal place. Within brackets, they have said take root 5 as, take square root of 5 as 2.24. All right, so we got to solve this quadratic equation. So when it comes to solving quadratic equations, we have three methods. What are the three methods? Method of factorizing. The second method, using the quadratic formula. And the third method, completing the square. All right, so let's see. All right, so let's see whether method of factorizing would work. One thing I'm sure is it won't work. How do I know? How do I know it's not going to work? Looking at the past papers. If you look at paper 2 questions, almost all the quadratic equations that you get are equations or quadratic equations which cannot be solved using the factorizing method. So it's highly unlikely factorizing method working for this. Remember, factorizing method works only for certain types of quadratic equations. What are the two general methods that would work for any quadratic equation? That is the formula method and the complete in the square method. All right. All right. So here the factorizing method doesn't work because we cannot factorize this white color expression. So the factorizing method fails. So then what do we have? We are left with two other methods. The general methods. What are those? Formula method and complete in the square method. So I'll discuss both the methods. First, I'll discuss the formula method. All right. So when you do quadratic formula method, first you got to figure out what's A, B, and C of this quadratic equation. Now, what is meant by A, B, and C? A is the coefficient of x squared. What's the coefficient of x squared? What's the number in front of x squared? There's no number to be seen. Then what do you take it as? 1, comma. Then you take the B. What's the B? B is the number or the coefficient of x. So what's the number in front of x? That's 4, plus 4, comma. And what's the C? What's the C? It is minus 16. All right, so we figured out what's A, B, and C. Now just a matter of writing the quadratic formula. So all of you should know the quadratic formula by heart. What is it? X is equal to minus B, then comes the square, then comes the plus, so minus. All right, let's use the colors. Minus B, then comes plus, so minus, then comes the square root sign, comes B squared, minus 4AC divided by what? 2A. So you got to know this formula by heart. All right, so x is equal to just a matter of plugging in the values now. Minus, what's b's value? B is 4. Then comes plus or minus. Then comes the square root sign. B squared. So what's b? That's 4. You write 4 and a square. And minus 4ac. What does 4ac mean? 4 times a. What's the a's value? 1 times c. And what is c? Minus 16 divided by 2a. So 2 times 2a means 2 times a. What's the a's value? It's 1. So what do we get for x now? X equals minus 4 plus or minus 4 squared. Look at this green color 4. What is there with it? Squared. So 4 squared. What does 4 squared mean? It means 16 minus. But can you put this minus this way? The same minus what's here? No, no, no. Don't put it in that way. First you got to multiply. So don't just put the minus. Just because you see a minus here, don't write it. First do the multiplication. What's the multiplication to be done? Minus 4 times 1 times minus 16. All right, so let's do that in the side. It's minus 4 times 1 times minus 16. What would that give you? Minus 4 times 1 would give you minus 4 times minus 16. And minus into minus, that's plus, and 4 times 6, that is 64. So what is minus 4 times 1 times minus 16? It is plus 64 divided by 2 times 1, that's 2. All right, so let's go further. So we have got x equals minus 4. Now remember, can you find the square root of 16 and square root of 64 separately? Now, most of you would have noticed 16 and 64 are square numbers. So some of you may tend to write square root of 16 as 4 and square root of 64 as 8. That's incorrect. That is wrong. Why is it wrong? Because when there is a square root and inside the square root sign, if there's an addition, you cannot treat the numbers separately. You cannot treat 16 and 64 separately. Why? Because in between them, there's an addition. So you cannot find the square root separately. Before you find the square root, first you got to add the two numbers. All right? So when there's an addition or subtraction, you cannot give the square root sign to individual numbers. All right? Right. So what do we do then? Put the square root sign. Got to add. What is 16 plus 64? That's 80. Divided by 2. So now we have got what? X equals minus 4 plus or minus square root of 80 divided by 2. Now some of you may be thinking, all right, to find the square root of 80, we'll have to use the log tables. But there's no such requirement for log tables in this question. Why? If you read the question, in the last sentence, in the last line, they have asked you to take root 5. Take square root of 5 is 2.24. So when they give in this way, what they mean by that is don't use a logarithmic table. Don't use the log table. when they give something within brackets, like take root 5 as 2.24, it's a clue to you. You're not supposed to use the log tables to find the square root of 80. Then how would you find the square root of 80? How do you do it? With the square root sign, there's a division 2. Now, you got to break this 80. You got to split the 80 using a multiplication. All right? So you got to write a number in the green blank, a number in the red blank. So what should you write in the green blank? It should be a square number. And what can you write in the red blank? It could be anything. But this question, they have made it easy by giving us a hint. Take root 5 as 2.24. So what would you write in the red blank? 5. And then what would you write in the green blank? It should be a square number. So what times 5 gives you 80? It is 16 times 5. So what would come in the green blank? It is 16. And 16 is a square number. All right. All right. So there's no space for me to go downwards. So let me go here. So what do we have now? X equals minus 4 plus or minus. Now, square root of 16 times 5. Now, what is between 16 and 5? It's a multiplication. So when there's a multiplication between the numbers inside the square root sign, we can give the square root sign individually to 16 and 5 individually. So what's square root of 16? What is square root of 16? Let me write the same thing here so that it's more clear. While I write, you can think of what square root of 16 is. X equals minus 4 plus or minus. What's square root of 16? It is it 3? 3 times 3 is 9. No. That's 4, right? What is 4 times 4? 16. So what's square root of 16? That's 4 times. What's square root of 5? What's square root of 5? That has been given to us. What is it? 2.24. 2.24. The square root of 16 is 4 and square root of 5 is 2.24. I repeat, when there's a multiplication sign inside the square root sign, we can give the square root sign to each member. So square root of 16 is 4 and square root of 5 is 2.24. So what do we get for x now? X equals minus 4 plus or minus. What is 4 times 2.24? Do the multiplication. 4 times 2.24. Let's do it up here. 2.24 times the green color 4. So 4 times 4, 16. 1 remaining, 9. That's 8.96. So this gives us, but don't forget the 2. You got to write the 2 here. Division 2 comes. All right. So what is 4 times 2.24? We found that to be 8.96. Division 2. How did I get 8.96? I multiplied 4 times 2.24. All right, now is the time to split. Let's split it and get two different answers for x. So how do we split it? We can split it as X equals minus 4. First, let's take the plus. Plus 8.96 divided by 2. All right, so what do we get for x then? X equals minus 4 plus 8.96. Minus 4 and plus 8.96, when you put them together, who's going to win? Because they're enemies. Who's more powerful? Here, plus is more powerful because it has 8.96 with it. So plus is going to win by how much? By the gap. What's the gap between 8.96 and 4? That's going to be what? 4.96. So plus 4.96 divided by 2. What would that give us? X equals plus 4.96 means simply 4.96. So 4.96 divided by 2 would give us 2.48. Now that's one answer. We can get another answer for x. How is that? X equals minus 4. Now what do? We took the plus. Now we got to take the minus. So minus 4 minus 8.96 divided by 2. That gives us what? X equals minus 4 and minus 8.96. Are they friends or enemies? If you put 4 negatives and 8.96 negatives, are they going to fight? No, they're friends. They'll get bigger. So 4 negatives and 8.96 negatives all together, it gives you what? It gives you 12.96 negatives. We add. So 12.96 minus divided by 2. What would that give you? X equals minus 6.48. So we have got 2 answers for x, but are both of these answers valid? That's the question we got to check. All right, let's check it. All right, so now, how do we check whether both these answers are valid? Check what is x. X is a width. All right, so can a width take a negative value? Not only width, anything that is measured in centimeter, can it take a negative value? No, right? So here, what does that mean? X equals minus 6.48. Is it a valid answer? No, it isn't. So what we got to say is, since X is representing the width of a rectangle, it cannot take a negative value. So therefore, the only valid value, only valid value for x is, what is it? Only the positive value is valid. What's the positive value we have got? 2.48. All right. Now, to how many decimal places have they asked you to present the answer? Is it for 2 decimal places or is it for 1 decimal place? Let's check. All right, so we have said therefore the only valid value x can take is 2.48. Now look at the requirement. You have been asked to find the x to the nearest first decimal place. So how would you give the answer then? How would you present the final answer? X equals 2.48, but they want it correct to one decimal place. So you write X equals 2 point. How do you round? How do you round this 2.48 to one decimal place? Before you write the first decimal place number, see what's next to it. What's the next digit? That's 8. Is 8 bigger than 5 or smaller than 5? 8 is bigger than 5. So if it's bigger than 5, what do? You don't write 4. What do you write? You add a 1. Why do you add a 1? Because the second decimal place number is bigger than 5. If it's 5 or more than 5, you add a 1 to the first decimal place number. So 4 plus 1, 5. So x equals 2.5. Within brackets, correct to 1 dp, 1 decimal place. All right, I hope you all understood.